My nightmare mother tried to wear my wedding dress like it was her big day, and when I refused, she literally stalked me on my honeymoon. So I created boundaries so extreme and ironclad that she'll never dare cross me again, and now she's begging for forgiveness after finally realizing she went too far. When my mother rose to speak 6 months before my wedding, I expected a simple message of encouragement. Instead, she clapped her hands and announced her intention to wear white to the ceremony. I initially thought she was joking, but she was entirely serious. Gently, I explained my discomfort, mentioning it was traditionally the bride's color. Her expression fell, followed by a dramatic display of tears. She claimed I was trying to make her feel obsolete, that this wedding belonged to us, and she deserved to feel special too. Just like that, I yielded. I recalled James's look, a silent question of why I was already letting her dictate terms. But I couldn't bear her tears. A wave of guilt washed over me, as if I'd already damaged something. That moment marked the beginning of an unforeseen shift. Over the ensuing months, my mother transformed every aspect of the wedding into her personal showcase. She scheduled cosmetic procedures, lip fillers, and eye lift, a complete skin peel, precisely when we had vendor meetings. Each time I attempted to move forward, she'd claim she needed to recover and asked to reschedule. I kept rearranging things, telling myself I was being flexible, but it felt more like I was being conditioned. At my bridal shower, she appeared in a glittering, off-the-shoulder white gown and heels so high she required assistance to navigate the room. While I was thanking our guests, she interrupted with a lengthy anecdote about her own wedding, emphasizing her beauty and how she captivated everyone. People offered polite chuckles, while I felt utterly invisible. Afterward, I retreated to the restroom and wept. Melissa, my best friend and maid of honor, urged me to confront her, but I repeatedly made excuses. Then, I began noticing alterations to the wedding details. The flower colors were different. The centerpiece designs weren't what I had chosen. The wedding planner explained that my mother had made a few adjustments to complement her dress, not mine. I telephoned my mother, attempting to convey my vision, but she dismissed it, saying, "Sweetheart, don't be so rigid. You'll thank me later when everything looks coordinated." James grew increasingly frustrated. He disliked her level of control, reiterating that this was about our future, not just the wedding. Yet, every time I tried to assert myself, she'd cry or resort to passive aggression. I'd hang up the phone, feeling like the antagonist. One day, Aunt Carol pulled me aside after brunch. "You know your mother also sabotaged my wedding, right?" I was astonished. She recounted how my mother had spread rumors about her being pregnant before marriage and had worn a white dress without permission. I felt ill, but for some reason, I continued seeking harmony. Then came the night before the wedding. I returned from the rehearsal dinner, and my custom-designed, handmade, perfect wedding dress was gone. It had vanished. Panicked, I started calling everyone. That's when Melissa recalled my mother had left the rehearsal dinner early. She decided to stop by my mother's place to investigate. I was still making calls when Melissa telephoned me. "It's here. Your mom's car is in the driveway, and the trunk's open. I'm looking at your dress." I drove to her house immediately, still in my pajamas. The dress was there, as Melissa described, but it had been altered, hemmed shorter, refitted. I completely lost my composure. I burst through the front door, demanding to know what she thought she was doing. She didn't even flinch. She smiled and stated she intended to wear it for her grand entrance as the mother of the bride, adding that it looked better on her than on me. I thought I misheard her. My voice cracked. That was my wedding dress. She looked at me with an indifferent "so what?" Then, attempting to demonstrate the new fit, she tore the sleeve. She gasped. I gasped. Then she looked at me and said, "This wouldn't have happened if you weren't pulling so hard." I stood there, paralyzed, my chest tight, unable to think clearly. I walked out, sat in my car, and wept. Melissa came to comfort me. James arrived too. I told them everything, repeatedly saying, "I don't know what to do." James replied, "You do? You've just never done it before." So I did. I called her and informed her she was not welcome at the wedding. She erupted, screamed, attempted to guilt trip me, cried on the phone, accusing me of being cruel. She telephoned family members, claiming I was unstable, but I didn't waver. When the day arrived, she wasn't there, and the wedding was perfect. Not because everything went flawlessly, but because I was able to enjoy it. I got to be with James, to laugh and cry and dance until my feet ached. I wore a backup dress that didn't quite fit, but it didn't matter. I kissed my husband under twinkle lights and felt like I truly belonged to myself again. We left the venue and got into the car. James was driving us to the hotel. It was late, the windows were down, and I was resting my head on his shoulder. He looked in the rearview mirror and said quietly, "Liv, I think your mom is following us." And there she was, in her car, still in that dress. My stomach sank. My wedding night, the one night that was supposed to be solely about James and me, and there she was, tailing us like some kind of pursuer. What do we do? I whispered to James. He glanced in the mirror again and tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Let's see if she's really following us, he said. He made a sudden right turn down a side street. Sure enough, my mom's headlights appeared behind us. James made another turn, and another. Each time, her car remained right behind us. I texted Casey. Mom following us to hotel. What do I do? She responded immediately. Change hotels. I'll call around. James and I decided to drive to a 24-hour diner instead of going straight to our hotel. We figured my mom wouldn't create a scene in a public place. We pulled into the parking lot, and predictably, her car parked a few spaces away. I watched in the side mirror as she just sat there, engine running. I can't believe this is happening, I said to James. We sat in our car for about 20 minutes, neither of us wanting to go inside the diner, but also not wanting to lead my mom to our hotel. Finally, my phone buzzed. Casey had booked us a room at a different hotel across town. We waited another 10 minutes. Then James started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. My mom followed. We drove around for almost an hour, making random turns, trying to lose her. Eventually, James pulled into a gas station. Stay here, he said. He got out and walked over to my mom's car. I couldn't hear what he said to her, but I saw him talking through her window for a few minutes. When he came back, his jaw was clenched. What happened? I asked. She says she just wants to give you a wedding gift. She won't leave until she does. I was exhausted. It was almost 2 a.m. I just wanted to go to bed with my new husband. Fine, I said. Let's get this over with. We agreed to meet her in the gas station parking lot. I got out of the car, and my mom came rushing over with a small gift bag. She was still wearing that white dress, now wrinkled and stained at the hem. Her makeup was smeared from crying. Olivia, honey, I'm so sorry, she said, thrusting the bag at me. I just wanted to give you this. It's important. I took the bag, not wanting to open it, but knowing she wouldn't leave until I did. Inside was a small jewelry box. I opened it to find my grandmother's pearl earrings, the ones my mom had promised me I could wear on my wedding day, then forgot to bring. I wanted you to have these tonight, she said, her voice breaking, for your wedding night. For a split second, I felt touched. Then I realized what she was doing. She was creating a moment, making herself the hero who saved the day by bringing the earrings. She was still making it about her. Thanks, Mom, I said flatly. We need to go now. Her face crumpled. But don't you want to put them on? I could help you. No, I said firmly. We're leaving. Please go home. She started crying again, but I turned and walked back to our car. James and I drove to the new hotel Casey had booked for us. I kept checking the rearview mirror, but my mom didn't follow us this time. The next morning, I woke up to 37 missed calls and 18 text messages from my mom. I turned my phone off and enjoyed breakfast in bed with James. We were flying to Hawaii that afternoon for our honeymoon, and I was determined to enjoy it. But my mom had other plans. When we arrived at the airport, guess who was waiting at our gate? My mom, holding a giant gift basket and wearing sunglasses indoors. I stopped dead in my tracks when I saw her. How did she know our flight information? James muttered. I suddenly remembered that I'd shared our itinerary with my parents months ago in case of emergency. I never thought she'd use it like this. We tried to avoid her, but she spotted us and came rushing over. Olivia, James, I brought you some things for your trip, she announced loudly, drawing stares from other travelers. The gift basket contained sunscreen, travel pillows, snacks, and a framed photo of, you guessed it, my mom. Not us, not me and James, just my mom smiling in a white dress. Mom, what are you doing here? I asked, trying to keep my voice down. I wanted to see you off properly, she said. Since I wasn't allowed at the wedding. She said this last part loudly enough for nearby passengers to hear, giving me a look that clearly said, see what a terrible daughter you are. I pulled her aside. Mom, this isn't appropriate. You need to go home. I just wanted to make sure you had everything you needed, she said, her voice trembling. I'm your mother. I care about you. James stepped in. Mrs. Taylor, we appreciate the thought, but we really need some space right now. My mom's face hardened. Space from family? I see how it is. He's turning you against me already. I felt that familiar guilt creeping in, but then I remembered my ruined wedding dress, the months of manipulation, the way she'd followed us on our wedding night. I stood straighter. No, Mom, this is my decision. Please leave. She left in tears, making sure everyone at the gate saw her distress. An elderly woman next to me patted my arm and said, family troubles are the worst, dear. I just nodded, too embarrassed to explain. Our honeymoon was amazing for the first 3 days. Then, the hotel staff delivered a surprise to our room, a huge flower arrangement with a card that read, missing you terribly. Call me. Love, Mom. I called the front desk. Apparently, my mom had called them directly and charged the flowers to our room. I was mortified. James was furious. How did she even know which hotel we're staying at? He asked. I had a sinking feeling. I checked my email and found what I feared. She'd logged into my account. I'd used her computer once to print our reservation confirmations and must have stayed logged in. She had access to all our honeymoon details. I immediately changed all my passwords and enabled two-factor authentication, but the damage was done. Every day of our honeymoon, something arrived. A bottle of champagne, another flower arrangement, a fruit basket, all with notes reminding me to call her. I didn't call. Instead, I tried to enjoy our trip despite her intrusions. James and I went snorkeling, hiking, and spent lazy days on the beach. By the end of the week, I was feeling more relaxed and hopeful that maybe, just maybe, my mom would respect my boundaries when we got home. I was wrong. When we returned to our apartment, there was a key under the mat and the smell of food cooking inside. We opened the door to find my mom in our kitchen, preparing what she called a welcome home dinner. How did you get in here? James asked, his voice dangerously quiet. My mom smiled. Oh, I had a key made months ago when you asked me to water your plants, remember? I thought I'd surprise you. I didn't remember giving her permission to make a copy of our key. I was pretty sure I hadn't, but she said it with such confidence that I second-guessed myself. Mom, you can't just let yourself into our home, I said. She looked hurt. I was just trying to help. I know you'd be tired after your flight. James took the key from the counter. Mrs. Taylor, we appreciate the thought, but we need our privacy. Please don't come over unannounced anymore. My mom burst into tears. After everything I've done for you, I paid for half your wedding. I'm just trying to be a good mother. I felt that familiar guilt again, but James squeezed my hand. I took a deep breath. Mom, we need boundaries. I love you, but you can't keep doing things like this. She left in tears again. I felt terrible, but also relieved to have our space back. James and I ate the dinner she'd made. It was actually delicious. We tried to settle back into normal life. The next day, I went back to work. I'm a graphic designer at a small marketing firm, and I was excited to see my coworkers and catch up. But when I walked in, everyone was giving me strange looks. My boss called me into her office. Olivia, is everything okay at home? She asked. Yes, why? She looked uncomfortable. Your mother called yesterday. She said you were having a mental breakdown and might need time off. She asked if we could reduce your workload. I was stunned. She what? She seemed very concerned, said you'd been acting erratically, that your new husband was isolating you from family. I couldn't believe it. My mom was trying to interfere with my job now. I explained the situation to my boss, who thankfully understood and promised not to take any more calls from my mother. But it didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, my mom called my friends, my in-laws, even our landlord, telling them all that I was unstable and needed help. She showed up at our apartment multiple times, once even claiming she needed to check the smoke detectors because she'd had a dream our place was on fire. James and I changed the locks. We started screening our calls. I limited what I shared on social media, but somehow she always found ways to insert herself into our lives. The final straw came about a month after our wedding. James and I had been talking about buying a house, just casually looking online at listings. We hadn't told anyone about our plans yet. One Saturday, my mom called and insisted we meet her for lunch. She sounded normal, even apologetic, so I agreed. James was hesitant, but came along to support me. We met at a cafe downtown. My mom was already there, sitting with a man in a suit. When we approached, she jumped up excitedly. Olivia, James, this is William. He's a realtor. I've been showing him houses for you. I froze. What? My mom beamed. I know you've been thinking about buying a house, so I started looking for you. William has some great options in my neighborhood. Wouldn't that be perfect? We could be neighbors. James looked at me, his expression saying, how did she know we were house hunting? I realized with horror that she must still have access to something. My emails, my search history, something. There was no other way she could have known. William looked confused by our reaction. Your mother said you were eager to find a place quickly. I've already scheduled some viewings for this afternoon. I felt sick. Mom, can I talk to you privately? We stepped outside the cafe. How did you know we were looking at houses? I demanded. She waved dismissively. A mother knows these things. I just want to help. But how did you know? I pressed. She avoided my eyes. I might have installed a little app on your phone when you weren't looking, just to keep an eye on you, for safety. I was speechless. She'd been spying on me, reading my texts, my emails, tracking my location, invading every aspect of my privacy. Give me your phone, I said, my voice shaking. What? What? I want to see what app you installed. She clutched her purse tighter. Don't be ridiculous. I'm trying to help you. I reached for her purse, and she yanked it away. In the struggle, it fell to the ground, spilling its contents. Among the scattered items was a small notebook. I picked it up and flipped through it. Inside were notes, detailed notes, about my schedule, my conversations with James, places we'd gone. She'd been documenting our lives like some kind of private investigator. "What is this?" I whispered, horrified. My mom snatched the notebook back. "You're overreacting. This is what mothers do. We look out for our children." I stepped back from her. "This isn't normal, Mom. This is stalking. Don't be so dramatic." She scoffed. "I'm involved because I care." I looked at her, really looked at her, and suddenly saw everything clearly. The manipulation, the boundary violations, the way she'd made my entire life, including my wedding, about her. This wasn't love, this was control. "I need a break from you," I said quietly. "I don't want to see you or talk to you for a while." Her face crumpled. "You don't mean that. You need me." "No, Mom, I don't. Not like this." I walked back into the cafe, grabbed James's hand, and we left. My mom followed us to the parking lot, crying and making a scene. She clung to my arm, begging me not to abandon her. People were staring. I felt humiliated, but also strangely calm. "Let go, Mom," I said firmly. "We're leaving." She finally released my arm, her face a mask of hurt and anger. "You'll regret this," she said. "You need me more than you know." James and I drove home in silence. When we got there, I factory reset my phone, changed all my passwords again, and called my dad. I explained everything that had happened and told him I needed space from Mom. He sounded tired, resigned, like he'd been expecting this call for years. "I'll talk to her," he promised. "Just be patient. She doesn't mean to hurt you. But intention doesn't erase impact." I was done being patient with behavior that hurt me. For 2 weeks, I didn't hear from my mom. It was blissfully quiet. James and I continued house hunting on our own. We found a cute bungalow in a neighborhood we loved, importantly, about 30 minutes from my parents' house. We made an offer, and it was accepted. I was so excited that I broke my no-contact rule and called my dad to share the news. He was happy for us and asked if he could come see the house. I agreed, specifically saying, "Just you, Dad, not Mom." He promised to come alone. But when he showed up at the house for the walkthrough, guess who was in the passenger seat of his car? My mom, dressed like she was going to a showing on HGTV, carrying a tape measure and color swatches. I met them in the driveway. "Dad, we talked about this." He looked apologetic. "She really wanted to see the house, Liv. She's been so upset lately." My mom brushed past me toward the front door. "Don't be silly, Olivia. Of course I need to see where my daughter will be living." I blocked her path. "No, Mom. I asked Dad to come alone. I need you to respect my boundaries." She laughed like I'd said something absurd. "Boundaries? I'm your mother." "Yes, and I'm an adult. I get to decide who comes into my home." She tried to step around me. I stood firm. She looked at my dad for support, but he just stared at the ground. "Fine," she snapped. "I'll wait in the car. But don't expect me to help you decorate if I haven't even seen the place." I felt a wave of relief as she stomped back to the car. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. My dad and I toured the house together. He was genuinely happy for us, though he kept glancing nervously at the car where my mom sat fuming. As we finished up, he pulled me aside. "Your mom found a therapist," he said quietly. "She's been going for a week now." I was surprised. "Really?" He nodded. "After you cut contact, she was a mess. I told her she needed help if she wanted a relationship with you. She's trying, Liv." I felt a mix of emotions. Hope, skepticism, guilt. "That's good, Dad, but I still need space." He understood. As he was leaving, my mom rolled down the car window. "Olivia," she called. "I'm sorry about the wedding dress and the spying. I've been talking to Dr. Quinn about it." It wasn't a full apology, but it was something. I nodded acknowledgement, but didn't go over to the car. Baby steps. The next few weeks were peaceful. James and I closed on the house and started moving in. My mom kept her distance, though my dad said she was continuing therapy. I was cautiously optimistic. Then came the housewarming party. We invited close friends and family, including my parents. I was nervous about seeing my mom, but hopeful that therapy was helping her understand boundaries. The party was going well. My mom arrived with my dad, bringing a lovely houseplant as a gift. She was subdued, almost shy, which was so unlike her that it was actually a bit unnerving. She complimented the house and then mostly kept to herself, talking quietly with my aunt. I started to relax. Maybe things were changing. Maybe therapy was working. Then I overheard her talking to James's mother in the kitchen. "Of course I'll be helping them redecorate," she was saying. "Olivia has always had such questionable taste. Remember her wedding colors?" Thank goodness I stepped in. James's mom looked uncomfortable. "I thought her wedding was beautiful," she said. My mom laughed. "Well, it was after I fixed it. The original plan was a disaster. And this house? Don't get me started. Those curtains will be the first to go." I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. She hadn't changed at all. She was just being more subtle about her control. I walked into the kitchen. "Mom, Can I talk to you outside in the backyard? I confronted her. I heard what you said to James's mom about helping us redecorate. She had the grace to look embarrassed. I was just making conversation. No, you were making plans to take over our house, just like you tried to take over our wedding. She sighed dramatically. You're so sensitive, Olivia. This is why I worry about you. You overreact to everything. I'm not overreacting. I'm setting boundaries. This is our house. We'll decorate it how we want. Fine, she snapped. Make all your own mistakes. Don't come crying to me when your living room looks like a college dorm room. I took a deep breath. Mom, I think you should leave. What? But the party just started. I know, but I don't think you're ready to respect my boundaries yet. Her face darkened. After everything I've done for you, the therapy, the apologies, nothing is ever enough for you, is it? I stood my ground. The therapy is for you, Mom, not for me. And real change takes time. She stormed off, grabbing my dad on her way out. He gave me an apologetic look as she dragged him to the car. After they left, I found James in the living room. My mom left, I told him quietly. He put his arm around me. You okay? I nodded. Actually, yeah, I am. And I was. For the first time, I'd enforced a boundary without feeling guilty afterward. It was liberating. The next day, my mom sent a group text to our entire family. Olivia kicked me out of her housewarming party after all I've done for her. Please pray for her. She's not herself lately. My phone exploded with concerned messages from relatives. Some took her side, saying I was being cruel to my poor mother. Others, like Aunt Patricia, sent private messages of support. I didn't engage with the drama. Instead, I blocked my mom's number and asked my dad to be the point of contact between us for a while. He agreed, sounding tired but understanding. For 2 months, we had peace. James and I settled into our new home. I heard through my dad that my mom was still seeing her therapist. Apparently, the therapist had suggested she might have narcissistic tendencies, something my dad shared in a hushed voice, like he was confessing a family secret. I was starting to think about reconnecting with my mom, setting clear boundaries, but giving her another chance. Then the certified letter arrived. It was from a law firm, requesting that I return all items belonging to Barbara Taylor currently in my possession. Attached was a list that included my grandmother's pearl earrings, several pieces of furniture that had been wedding gifts, and, bizarrely, my wedding album, which my mom had never even seen, let alone given to me. I called my dad immediately. Did you know about this? He sounded defeated. She's been talking about it for weeks. I tried to talk her out of it, but you know how she gets fixated on things. I was furious. These things were gifts. She can't just demand them back because she's mad at me. I know, honey. Her therapist thinks this is her way of trying to regain control. She feels like she's lost her influence over you. I hung up and called a lawyer friend for advice. She looked over the letter and assured me that gifts legally belong to me, not my mom. She offered to write a response letter explaining this. A week later, my mom escalated. She showed up at our house when she knew I'd be at work, trying to convince James to let her in to collect her things. When he refused, she threatened to call the police and report her items stolen. James called me at work, and I rushed home to find my mom still on our porch, crying to a confused-looking police officer about her stolen heirlooms. The officer, to his credit, quickly realized this was a family dispute, not a theft. He explained to my mom that she would need to pursue this through civil court if she really believed the items were hers, then left. My mom turned to me, her face a mix of anger and triumph. See what you made me do? I didn't want to involve the police, but you left me no choice. I was beyond angry. You're the one who called them over earrings that you gave me. I never gave them to you permanently, she insisted. They're family heirlooms. They belong to me. James put his hand on my shoulder. Barbara, I think you should leave now. My mom looked at him with pure venom. This is your doing. You've turned her against me. I stepped between them. No, Mom, this is all you. You've been trying to control me my entire life, and I'm finally standing up for myself. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked to her car. As she drove away, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. That night, I sat down and wrote my mom a long email. I explained how her behavior had hurt me, from the wedding dress incident to the police call. I told her I loved her, but couldn't have a relationship with her until she respected my boundaries. I said I was open to family therapy if she was willing to work on our relationship in a healthy way. I didn't expect a response, but one came the next morning. It was short. I'm sorry you feel that way. When you're ready to apologize for how you've treated me, we can talk. I showed it to James. He shook his head. Classic non-apology. I nodded, disappointed but not surprised. So what now? He took my hand. Now we live our lives. She'll either come around or she won't. He was right. I couldn't control my mom's behavior or force her to change. I could only control my own responses. A week later, my dad called. Your mom's therapist wants to meet with both of you. Some kind of mediated conversation. Would you be willing to try? I thought about it. Yes, but only if it's on neutral ground with the therapist present the whole time. He sounded relieved. I'll set it up. The meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday at the therapist's office. I was nervous but hopeful. Maybe this was a turning point. I arrived early and waited in the lobby. When my mom walked in with my dad, she looked different somehow, smaller, less confident. She gave me a tentative smile. Dr. Quinn, a kind-looking woman in her 50s, invited us into her office. She explained that she'd been working with my mom on understanding boundaries and recognizing controlling behaviors. Barbara has been doing some important self-reflection, she said. She wanted this meeting to share some of her insights with you, Olivia. My mom cleared her throat. I've been talking a lot about our relationship with Dr. Quinn, she began. She's helped me see that some of my behaviors have been inappropriate. I nodded, waiting for more. I've always wanted the best for you, she continued. But Dr. Quinn has helped me understand that what I think is best isn't always what you want or need. And that's been hard for me to accept. It wasn't a full apology, but it was more self-awareness than I'd ever heard from her. The wedding dress incident, she said, her voice catching. That was inexcusable. I was jealous, Olivia. You looked so beautiful, and I felt invisible old. But that's no excuse for what I did. I felt tears welling up. Thank you for saying that, Mom. Dr. Quinn guided us through a conversation about boundaries. My mom struggled at times, falling back into defensive patterns, but the therapist gently redirected her. By the end of the session, we had agreed on some basic ground rules for rebuilding our relationship. My mom would call before visiting. She would respect our decisions about our home. She would not contact my workplace or friends about me. In return, I would check in with her regularly and include her in appropriate ways in our lives. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As we were leaving, my mom handed me a small bag. I want you to have these, she said. Inside were my grandmother's pearl earrings. No strings attached, she added. They're yours. I hugged her, cautiously optimistic that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. Over the next few weeks, my mom stuck to our agreement. She called instead of showing up unannounced. She asked before offering advice. When she slipped up, and she did, she caught herself and apologized. It wasn't always smooth. There were tense moments and setbacks. But slowly, we began rebuilding trust. 3 months after our first therapy session, James and I invited my parents over for dinner. My mom brought a bottle of wine and a houseplant, not a truckload of decorations or unsolicited advice. During dinner, she asked about our plans for the house. When I mentioned wanting to paint the living room blue, she started to say something, then stopped herself. What? I asked. She smiled. I was going to suggest beige, but it's your house. Blue will be lovely. It was a small moment, but it felt like a breakthrough. My mom was learning to let go, and I was learning that people can change, even if it happens slowly. As they were leaving, my mom hugged me. I'm proud of you, Olivia, she whispered. You have a beautiful home and a wonderful husband. You did good. For once, she wasn't making it about herself. She was seeing me, really seeing me, maybe for the first time. James closed the door behind them and pulled me into a hug. That went well, he said. I nodded against his chest. Yeah, it did. Think it'll last? He asked. I thought about it. I don't know, but I know I can handle it either way. And that was the truth. Whether my mom continued her progress or slipped back into old patterns, I had found my voice. I had learned to set boundaries. I had discovered that I was stronger than I thought. The journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more conversations, more moments of growth and frustration. But for the first time, I felt hopeful about our future, not just mine and James's, but my relationship with my mom too. As I looked around our imperfectly perfect home, with its soon-to-be blue walls and mismatched furniture, I felt at peace. This was our life, on our terms, and no one, not even my mom, could take that away from me again. I woke up the next morning feeling strangely optimistic, like maybe we'd turned a corner with my mom. James was still asleep next to me, and I just lay there thinking about how much had changed in the past few months, from wedding dress drama to police at our doorstep to that surprisingly decent dinner. Progress, right? My phone buzzed with a text from my dad. Your mom's having a good day. She's been talking about maybe starting a garden like yours. I smiled. My garden was literally 3 tomato plants and some herbs, but it was nice that she noticed something I enjoyed without trying to take it over. Small victories. I replied with a thumbs up emoji and got out of bed to make coffee. As I was pouring my first cup, the doorbell rang. It was barely 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I looked through the peephole, and surprise, surprise, it was my mom. So much for calling before visiting. I opened the door, still in my pajamas. Mom, what are you doing here so early? She was dressed like she was going to brunch, holding a large shopping bag. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop these off. She pushed past me into the house. In the neighborhood at 8 a.m. on Sunday? I asked, following her to the living room. She waved dismissively. I'm an early riser, you know that. Look what I found. She dumped the contents of her bag onto our coffee table. Paint samples, dozens of them, all in shades of beige and cream. I know you said blue for the living room, she said, arranging the samples in a fan pattern, but I thought you might want to see some options. Blue is so cold, don't you think? I took a deep breath. Mom, we talked about this. James and I want blue. She looked up at me with that hurt expression I knew so well. I'm just trying to help. These neutrals would look so much better with your furniture. James appeared in the doorway, hair messy from sleep. Everything okay? My mom brightened. James, perfect timing. Help me convince Olivia that beige would look much better in here than blue. He looked at me, raising an eyebrow. I gave him a small headshake. Actually, Barbara, he said carefully, we're pretty set on blue. We've already ordered the paint. Her face fell. Oh, well, I guess I wasted my morning then. The guilt trip, right on schedule. Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice gentle, remember what we talked about with Dr. Quinn, about respecting our decisions? She started gathering up the paint samples, movements jerky with irritation. Fine. Make your room look like a swimming pool. What do I know? I've only been decorating homes for 30 years. I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. The progress from last night seemed to be evaporating. But then something unexpected happened. My mom stopped, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. I'm sorry, she said quietly. That wasn't respectful. Your house, your choice. I was so surprised I just stared at her. James looked equally shocked. Thank you. I finally managed. She nodded, still looking a bit pained. Dr. Quinn suggested I try to catch myself when I'm being controlling. It's not easy. I appreciate you trying, I said. She finished packing up her samples. Well, I should go. Sorry for coming by so early. As she headed for the door, I called after her. Mom, maybe call next time? She turned, looking embarrassed. Right. Boundaries. I'll try to remember. After she left, James and I looked at each other in amazement. Did she just apologize and then leave without a fight? He asked. I nodded slowly. I think therapy might actually be working. Over the next few weeks, my mom continued to show small improvements. She'd slip up, catch herself, and correct course. It wasn't perfect. She still called too often and occasionally just happened to be in our neighborhood. But it was progress. Then came the day we found out I was pregnant. It was early, just 6 weeks, but we were ecstatic. We decided to tell our parents at Sunday dinner the following weekend. My dad was thrilled, immediately tearing up and giving me a huge hug. My mom, though, had a strange reaction. She smiled and congratulated us, but there was something off about it, too measured. After dinner, she cornered me in the kitchen while I was loading the dishwasher. So, a baby, she said, leaning against the counter. That's wonderful. Thanks, Mom, we're really excited. She nodded, picking at her nail polish. You know, I've been thinking about converting my sewing room into a nursery for when the baby stays over. I paused, a plate in my hand. That's thoughtful, but it's a bit early for that, don't you think? I'm only 6 weeks. It's never too early to prepare, she said brightly. And you'll need help, of course. First-time mothers always do. I was thinking I could come stay with you for the first few weeks, maybe a month. There it was, the real agenda. Mom, we haven't even thought that far ahead yet, I said carefully. But when the time comes, James and I will figure out what works best for us. Her smile tightened. Well, you'll need help. That's all I'm saying. I finished loading the dishwasher and turned to face her. If we need help, we'll ask for it. But right now, we're just focusing on having a healthy pregnancy. She looked like she wanted to say more, but instead just nodded. Of course, whatever you think is best. I was proud of her for backing down, and I told Dr. Quinn as much at our next family therapy session. My mom had been attending regularly, and I'd been joining every other week. That's good progress, Dr. Quinn agreed. Barbara, how did you feel in that moment when Olivia set that boundary? My mom shifted in her seat. Hurt at first, like she was pushing me away from my own grandchild. But then I remembered what we've been talking about, that her boundaries aren't rejections of me. Dr. Quinn nodded encouragingly. That's excellent insight. My mom looked at me. I just get so excited about being involved sometimes. I forget that you need space to do things your own way. It was the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard her say. I reached over and squeezed her hand. Thanks, Mom. That means a lot. As my pregnancy progressed, my mom mostly kept her promise to respect our boundaries. She asked before buying things for the baby. She didn't show up unannounced. Well, not more than once a week anyway. She even held her tongue when we painted the nursery green instead of the pink she'd suggested. But as my due date approached, I could sense her getting antsy. She called more frequently. She sent links to articles about birth complications. She casually mentioned that she'd cleared her schedule for the month around my due date. At 38 weeks, she called me in a panic because I hadn't answered her earlier call. I was about to drive over. I thought you might be in labor alone. Mom, I was in the shower, I explained. And James works from home now, remember? I'm not alone. Well, you should text before you shower so people don't worry, she huffed. I had to laugh. That's not happening. Look, I promise we'll call you when I go into labor, okay? Call me first, she insisted, before anyone else. I didn't make that promise. As it turned out, I went into labor at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, 2 days before my due date. James and I decided to labor at home for a while before heading to the hospital. I was focused on breathing through contractions, so I didn't think about calling anyone. By the time we got to the hospital at 7 a.m., things were progressing quickly. James called our parents while I was being checked in. My mom apparently answered on the first ring, as if she'd been sleeping with her phone in her hand. She's on her way, James told me after hanging up. She sounded intense. I nodded, then grimaced as another contraction hit. Just don't let her in the delivery room. He squeezed my hand. Not a chance. My mom arrived 20 minutes later, bursting into my room without knocking. She was wearing full makeup and an outfit that looked suspiciously new, like she'd been prepared for this moment for weeks. I'm here, she announced, as if her presence was the key thing missing from this birth experience. How far apart are the contractions? Have they checked your dilation? Did your water break naturally, or did they have to rupture the membranes? The nurse looked startled by this barrage of questions. James stepped in smoothly. Barbara, why don't we step outside and let the nurse finish checking Olivia? My mom looked offended. But I'm her mother. I should be here for this. I was about to respond when another contraction hit, stronger than the last. I gripped the bed rail, focusing on my breathing. When it passed, I looked at my mom. I need some space right now. Could you wait in the family room? James will keep you updated. Her face fell, but to my surprise, she nodded. Of course. Whatever you need. She leaned over to kiss my forehead. I'll be right outside if you need me. After she left, the nurse gave me an approving look. Good for you. Setting boundaries during labor is important. Labor progressed quickly after that. My mom kept texting James for updates, which he answered between helping me breathe and holding my hand. At one point, she texted that she was just going to peek in to check on me. James stationed himself by the door like a bouncer. She tried 3 times to come in. Each time, James gently but firmly turned her away. She's doing great, but she needs to focus, he told her. I promise we'll call you as soon as there's news. Finally, after 6 more hours of labor, our daughter was born. Emma Rose, 7 pounds 4 ounces, perfectly healthy and absolutely beautiful. After the doctors finished checking her, and I had some time to hold her, James went to get my mom from the waiting room. She came in with tears streaming down her face. Oh, Olivia, she whispered, looking at Emma. She's perfect. I nodded, too exhausted and happy to speak. I gestured for her to come closer. Can I hold her? She asked, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. Of course, I said, carefully transferring Emma to her arms. My mom cradled her with such tenderness, cooing softly. Hello, beautiful girl. I'm your grandma. She looked up at me, her eyes shining. Thank you for letting me be here. Something about the way she said it, not assuming it was her right, but thanking me for including her, made me tear up. Thanks for respecting my space during labor, I said. I know that wasn't easy for you. She smiled ruefully. Dr. Quinn and I had a whole session about birth boundaries last week. She made me practice what I would say when you asked for space. I laughed. Seriously? Role-playing and everything. My mom confirmed. It was mortifying, but I guess it worked. The next few days in the hospital were surprisingly peaceful. My mom visited during designated hours, always texting before she came. She brought food for James and magazines for me. She held Emma when offered, but didn't try to take over. She even defended my decision to breastfeed when a pushy nurse suggested supplementing with formula. My daughter knows what's best for her baby, she said firmly. I nearly fell out of the hospital bed in shock. When we brought Emma home, my mom had clearly been dying to help set up the nursery, but she'd restrained herself. The only thing she'd done was leave a small stuffed bear in the crib with a note that said, "For Emma, with love from Grandma." The first week at home was a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and very little sleep. My mom texted daily but didn't come over unless invited. When she did visit, she actually helped, doing laundry, making meals, holding Emma so I could shower. She didn't criticize how we were doing things or try to take over. One afternoon, about 2 weeks after Emma was born, I came out of the bedroom after a nap to find my mom sitting in the living room, rocking Emma. She was singing softly, some old lullaby I vaguely remembered from my own childhood. I stood watching them for a moment, struck by how natural they looked together. My mom glanced up and saw me. She was fussing, and James needed to take a work call, she explained quickly. I hope it's okay that I picked her up. Of course it's okay, I said, sitting down across from her. You're her grandma. She smiled, looking back down at Emma. I've been trying so hard to do this right, Olivia. To not be how I was before. I've noticed, I said. And I appreciate it more than you know. She was quiet for a moment, just rocking Emma gently. I've been thinking a lot about why I am the way I am. Dr. Quinn has helped me see that I've always been so afraid of being irrelevant, of being left behind. When you got married, it felt like I was losing you. And now with Emma, I was afraid you wouldn't need me anymore. I reached out and touched her arm. Mom, I'll always need you. Just not in the controlling way you thought. I need you as a support, as someone who respects my choices, even when they're different from what you would do. She nodded, blinking back tears. I'm trying to be that person. It's not easy, changing at my age. But you are changing, I said. And it means everything. She carefully transferred Emma to my arms. She looks just like you did as a baby. Same little nose. We sat there together, talking about nothing important, just enjoying the moment. No drama, no control struggles, just a mom and daughter and a new baby. As she was leaving, my mom paused at the door. I was thinking, if you and James ever want a night out, I'd be happy to babysit. But only when you're ready, of course. I smiled. That would be great, Mom. Maybe in a few weeks. She nodded, looking pleased but not pushing for more. Whenever you're ready, just let me know. After she left, James came out of his office. That went well, he observed. Yeah, I agreed, looking down at Emma sleeping in my arms. It really did.